right here on IntellectualRadio.com. Now, y'all know the deal. You know the deal. It is your boy Abdul Rashid along with
the boss man,
Mike B.
Glad to be back here in the studio the
Yes.
day before Thanksgiving, so let us give thanks.
Yes. Now, much love to our partner. He's not with us today, Mr. Ash, a.k.a. the Gatekeeper, but he will be back with us soon. Much love to you, brother. You know the deal. All right, now, check it out, everybody. What we're going to talk about today, we are on everything on the judicial system and how the system, I got to say, works and goes. I mean, it was a couple of twists to the things I was preparing for today because we got a blessing. And I say it again, we got a blessing.
It wasn't a blessing.
In my
blessing
book,
implies that is something that is beyond that is deserved.
Well, bro,
this
in my
was,
book, though,
justice.
Yeah, it was justice. But in my book, because of the track record of the justice system that we have, you kind of were expecting something else. But I'm so very thankful that justice has actually spoken. It's spoken in the right way.
Well, I mean, you know, and to put a fine point on, we're talking about the ruling in the Ahmaud Arbery matter. It just came out 4 hours prior to us hopping online. I think the sad part of it is that we are so happy that we were disappointed with the verdict. Because I mean,
you're right.
I mean,
right.
As persons of color, you know, we expect
you expect the worst. You
worst.
Always hope for the best, but you expect the worst. Unfortunately,
we expect the worst and hope for the best. But in this case, 11 white jurors and one black person found these. I don't even want to say gentlemen, and I don't disparage. I try not to disparage people, but found these.
They was charged as fair as they should. Well, it could have been worse, but
I mean, no, they got. They were charged, and I don't know how I want to refer to these criminals as they are now.
Yes,
these convicts as they are now.
Yes,
you know, but we can get into the minutia of the case, you know, in a moment. But you know, today, you know, as they always say, the arc of justice, you know, bends, and it takes a minute to bend. That's not the exact saying, but you know what I'm saying. But the moral arc of the universe always bends towards justice. It's a correct saying. And you know, earlier this week, it seemed like it took a walk around the block. Went down the street a piece.
Well, I don't know about that. That moral arc kind of broke.
But we can get into that.
Oh yeah, we will get into that.
Yes, sir.
All right. So since it's a new thing and it's out there now, we're gonna go ahead and touch on Arbery right now.
Okay.
You know, now for those who don't know.
And how could you not know unless you've been living under a rock?
But it might be some out there that don't.
Okay.
All right, let's keep it very real. All right.
Now,
on February 23rd, 2020, in Brunswick, Georgia, 25-year-old Ahmaud Arbery, who went for a jog, and don't get me wrong, let's keep it very real once again. All right, he went into a house that was under construction, but he did not take anything.
Well, why do we even have to put that mark on there?
But you know why? And I'm gonna tell you exactly why. You're gonna have those out there that will say, well, why did he go in the house? What was his intent and so forth? If he intended, if I intend to steal something, if I intend to do whatever, I'm just gonna do it.
Even if that was his intent, there's nothing under this sun,
right,
on this side, at least as it relates to property, that warrants a death penalty.
Now, exactly. And what I was also going to say, all right, now with the case, Ahmaud just jogged by
the property. Well,
not even the property. I'm talking about the McMichael's home.
Yeah,
he did not. You know, they did not see him or whatever. They saw him jogging by,
right,
and they already assumed. You know,
certain assumptions were made.
Yes, exactly. Now, saying that and being that, all right, because he was in this house. The only charge that you could have charged him with is trespassing. That's it.
If that.
You're right. Now, these people, even though I think the father was a lawman. I don't remember.
Former, so yeah,
Former lawman.
yeah. The guy was a
Okay,
Coast Guard. The son was a Coast Guard. The father was a former officer. Or he was involved with the law enforcement.
okay. And what I'm saying is this. All right. Still, you are not within the law enforcement anymore. One.
Correct.
Two, even if you were, you were not in uniform or none of that sort. So you gentlemen had no right to even chase this man at all.
I mean, this is where context matters. I don't know what they expected or what they thought. I know, everybody wants to say you have to put yourself in their perspective. And I was like, well, in my perspective, who put themselves in Ahmaud Arbery's perspective?
Exactly.
What story do we know of in history where it starts off with 3 white men got into a pickup truck with shotguns and went after a black man and it ended well? What? Find me one. Just
you will not find one.
I mean,
and that's why they deemed it as a modern day lynching.
And so and I from the get go, more so than any of these other stories, this has resonated with me as someone. I'm not a prolific jogger like Ahmaud is, but I jog. I get my miles in, both of them. And
well, hey, I'm gonna run with them in spirit because I'm not a jogger. Y'all.
But when you're out running, you have a certain mindset. I'm sure he was clearing his head. He was a football player, and I'm thinking the fear he must have felt. Like, do you have to understand? This is Georgia heat during the summer, and this guy was running outside in that. So that to me tells me he's one, A, an athlete, B, dedicated. This was the morning of Georgia in the heat. And so what we have failed to do more so than I think we did with George was to humanify, to make human Ahmaud Arbery.
Oh, we're gonna touch on that. We're gonna touch on that.
We have failed to, we only know nothing. At least I don't, and I'm sure there's stories of people who knew Ahmaud before and knew him afterwards. I mean, he had some troubles, but nothing warranting, this. He seemed to, be on what we want to call, quote unquote, the good path. We know physically he was, in good physical health. But what I want to talk about is those moments that man must have felt fear.
Of course,
as these guys are driving after him, like,
because
how scared was this kid at 25, knowing that these guys, no matter where he's going, they're still chasing him, talking about, we want to stop and question you. Can you imagine the fear? Can you imagine the palpable sweat and just the idea of wanting to get away? And the prosecutor did a good job, I guess. She secured it. But the shots that these defense counsels took at him to dehumanize him, talking about his long, dirty nails, and he didn't have on socks, and just the way they went with the old script.
Yeah, let me touch on that. All right. First, you talk about the fear. Now, Ahmaud was smaller than me, and I say that because, ladies and gentlemen, I am 6'3". I am close to 300 pounds. I'm not going to say where, but I'm close to 300 pounds. And so, somebody would come to me, and I've heard this before. They would come to me and they think I'm somewhat intimidating. I would be intimidated if I see 3 guys coming after me. All right. Because number one, it's 1 on 3. Number 2, you're in Georgia. Yeah.
Number 4, they got pickup trucks.
Right.
Now you can take each of those elements separately and say that's okay. But when you start combining them in a bowl,
it comes real ugly.
It becomes real ugly. And they had shotguns. So it's not like he did not see they had a shotgun.
Exactly. So now, number one, if I'm correct, in the original video, if you look at the size of the son, he was much bigger than Ahmaud. So when he was on the stand saying that he was afraid of him, and this is why I'm going to touch up on, he was afraid of him and he looked scary to him. You lied right there, bro.
Well, first of all, this is a common trope that has always been used.
Exactly.
As you remember, what was my guy who was in Florida? Trayvon Martin. It was said the same thing. There's this belief that our kids are bigger than what they say they are. They move a lot quicker than what they say they did. They're a lot stronger. And there's these common tropes that have been constantly used as like my body is the weapon.
Right.
Now, like the prosecutor said, the only person who came that day without a weapon was Ahmaud.
Exactly.
All three of them had weapons.
Right. Now you can go even further back with the common tropes and so forth, because it goes further back. If you look at the start of the second version of the KKK, it started with trying to remember the name of the movie. Oh, Birth of a Nation.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And within there, it showed African Americans as being, monstrous and so forth. So it started even a lot further back.
Well, these tropes are common throughout history. As I said, this was all set up because of what they believe was theft of property. Now, mind you, one of the guys that was convicted today, I think, was a neighbor and had just met these two guys. And so I'm sitting there like,
the one whimpering. Yeah, go ahead.
The one whimpering.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there saying, well, if I see two guys chasing after somebody with guns, what goes through your mind where you say, yeah, I should join in on this?
Right, because if I'm correct, he made sure that he was cornered in with his truck.
He was cornered. So,
right.
The son got charged with felonious murder, which is like murder in the first degree,
malice murder,
and the other ones I forget what they got charged with a lesser extent. So the son got charged.
He got the full 9 charges all the way down.
The next one got 8,
and then the neighbor got
7.
Something
so,
like that.
But they are all looking at life without parole in Georgia, and I believe under Georgia they are now eligible for the death penalty as well.
Yeah, but I thought they threw that off the table.
No, I believe that, and these guys are still looking at federal charges.
Yes.
So they still got a long road. I would like to say, that this represents a turning stone or a cornerstone, and what we hope will be progress in terms of racial recognition or racial reconciliation. But I'm afraid that, again, it will be just another episode, and it will be an outlier. That's my real fear, is that this is an outlier, because we still got Elijah McClain coming down the chute next year. For those 3 police officers and 2 paramedics that's coming. Just heard that, I believe in Florida, and we'll talk about a little bit more at the break, that 5 officers just had to get arrested for tasering a guy after they had him handcuffed and subdued. And this was a Latino gentleman that was killed as a result of being tasered over and over and over again.
Right.
So let us take joy in the fact that this was done. And I don't want to use the word joy. Let's take a moment to recognize what this is, but let's also make sure that we know that there's more coming, and that this has not changed anything.
Exactly.
Anything in America.
And see, that the main thing, we as the people, we have to keep our foot on the gas. This is one of the problems. One of the problems, we get a little bit to happen, a little bit to go in our favor, and we release, the gas, and everything goes back to whatever it is, and then to turn around and it happen again. 6 months down the line, something else happens.
Yeah,
we have to keep our foot on the gas. We have to, I think I said it in a previous show that, some of these old laws, which are made for excuses for some people to do the crap that they do. All right. Somebody needs to look in the books of these laws. It has to be of each and every state, each and every city.
But they're not going to do that.
And that's the problem.
It's to their advantage. And remind you, when these defense attorneys use this law, this anti-slave law,
right?
The Georgia Republicans were even like, that's how bad this was. Like, even Georgia Republicans were like, oh, wait a minute, this is way too bad. Now, mind you, this book had been on the years since slavery, like 1885. That's how long this law has been on the books. and even Georgia Republicans did it, and so the fact
because
is,
they knew how messy it is.
It wasn't a good look, but
Right.
it's not. We have to stop thinking that people are concerned about the good looks. That's why Matthew Goetz can come and say, I can hire Kyle Rittenhouse and Rittenhouse can take pictures with Trump. They don't. We have to get to the point where it used to be socially a faux pas to do certain things. The other side doesn't care anymore. They are in a power grab just to have a power grab. And so that's why I'm saying that what just happened, is a footnote.
Yes.
It's not a paragraph. It's
yes,
a footnote. And if I could, gatekeeper, I'm sorry, Rich, go back to
it's all right,
what I was talking about. The police officers, 5 Georgia police officers turned themselves in after being indicted on murder charges in the death of a 24-year-old Fernando Rodriguez, who was shot by stun guns more than a dozen times in 2019. Rodriguez was walking near the Atlanta Motor Speedway after leaving the music festival. Footage shows that he was naked, being repeatedly shot with a stun gun. Even after he fell to the ground, officers can be heard shouting to Rodriguez, roll over, roll over. That was 2019. And these officers, and again, great state of Georgia, great state of Georgia, after years, because you got to remember, they didn't charge these 3 guys at first.
Right.
Remember, it went on for a year or 2, and then Ahmaud Arbery's name started leaking out, and then you find out that
because that video leaked out.
The video leaked out.
If it wasn't for that,
which was done by the neighbor, which I know he got to be kicking us up. But anyway,
right.
The DA, the former DA, is now facing charges because of her collusion with one of these officers. There was another DA who knew the guy, but he was smart enough to say, maybe I'll kick this over. But he had started investigating. And then the second DA got involved and colluded and was not going to bring charges. So even though justice, and we'll deal with this concept of justice later, even though it was eventually met, it was by hook and crook. It was by hook and crook. It wasn't the natural order of things. And that's the issue. That's the issue I had with Ahmaud Arbery. It's like it took a loss of luck, social pressure, the leaking of these videotapes for this to happen. But for those things, it wouldn't have happened. And that's justice should not be a happenstance of luck. It should be a happenstance of procedure. So yes, rejoice. Let's take full measure of what has happened today. But also let's balance that with what happened earlier this week with Kyle Rittenhouse, or however.
Rittenhouse sounds nice. We can do that. We can do that. But real quick, one last thing I want to touch on the Arbery case.
Okay.
All right. And you could tell me this. Being the tactics of the defense team, the tactics that we talk about, the dirty toenails and trying to make them to look like a monster. Is there not a way for them to be disbarred for using this tactic?
No. I mean, no. I'm speaking. I
mean,
can't
because
speak as
some
a
of this stuff needs to be, they need to get hit. Don't worry about it. Yeah. They need to get hit on that. If you want to use this, you got to take this hit.
I mean, we want defense counsels and I mean this as respectfully as people who practice in the criminal bar. They have to be cowboys just because the state has every resource to bring against you. So they have to be. What I took exception with these defense counsels and other defense counselors may or may not. I just thought it was a losing strategy from the get-go. People are not. That may have worked in 1959. It may have worked. It would have worked in 1984. Definitely would have worked in 1993. These strategies, but people are becoming more sophisticated. There is a sense of racial justice. I really took exception. And if I'm one of the other 2 defense counsels with the one who was protesting the black pastor, it's like, are you serious? Like, are you literally saying Jesse Jackson is intimidating to the jury? I as a person who was on a jury, I would have found that insulting. B, you're not doing your client no favors. It's like people aren't this, racially ignorant monolith that we want them to be. People have their own ideas and customs. So to the extent that he, continued to protest, I don't think he garnered himself any favors on that jury, and he did it twice. And then I think he talked about the protest outside and said that this amounted to a white lynching.
But see, that's
you
what
have
I'm
to
saying.
have context. So he as a defense, just as an attorney, I took extreme exception with his strategy.
Right.
He did his clients no favors. I don't know what their strategy could have been, but that would have not been my strategy.
But that's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. Is that all right? This strategy needs to be dissolved, plain and simple. I mean, for example,
people keep doing it until it don't work.
For example, I agree. But for example, all right, they say Southern Georgia is big on football, so I'm gonna use a football analogy.
Okay.
All right. Now, it was the Bears versus the Steelers, and you remember? I don't remember the guy's name, but he had pretty much a game-saving sack that they turned around and fined him because he was looking at the opponent's bench.
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
And so y'all telling me that they can still do things such as this, and they don't catch it. If this football player can catch it, and he really wasn't really looking at that bench. Let's keep it very real. He was looking that way, but it's a big bench. Come on now.
Right.
So you tell me I can't even look that way?
And they're going to use that strategy as long as it continues to work. We saw it work with Trayvon Martin.
Correct.
We saw it work with my lady in Cincinnati. I can't remember her name right now. Breonna Taylor. We've seen that strategy work. We see it work to an extent with Kyle Rittenhouse, so this and Kyle Rittenhouse wasn't as racial as this case is, but he
was a vigilante. I'm sorry.
Well, we see this. It's the blame the victim mentality, and if the person is a person of color, is use their physical body as the weapon. He was so much faster. He was so much quicker. Remember that case? I think it was out of Colorado where the 11-year-old boy was killed in the playground. And I hate that I can't remember names. He was 11-year-old. As soon as the officer pulls up, Tamir Rice. Thank you. When Tamir Rice.
That was Ohio, man.
Ohio. Thank you. Ohio. I'm sorry. Did I say Cincinnati? It was Ohio. I can't remember. But he turned around so quick. And I was like, but this is an 11-year-old boy. You're a grown officer. That was a grown officer from another police department that he got dismissed from because he wasn't supposed to be a police. They found him unsuitable for duty. But Tamir Rice, so there's always this strategy of blaming the victim.
Correct.
Because the victim is not there to defend themselves.
Right. And it's the easiest strategy that
they
can use.
You can use. So we see this over and over and over again. And until juries start dismissing these types of arguments, they're going to continue to be used. I wouldn't be surprised. Like I said, we got this trial coming up of Elijah coming up. Don't be surprised if they talk about how strong Elijah was. How we had to held him down, that he was in this delusional rage and all of that stuff. Now, mind you, it was like 5 of them, 3 police officers. Tamir Rice, Elijah McClain was only about 120 pounds.
I was just about to say, it didn't even have to be 3 police officers and the paramedics. It didn't even have to be all that to put that young boy
You
in
will
control.
find out. Elijah McClain was, his hands were put up on him 8 seconds after contact.
Yes.
Said, hold on, come here. Didn't even give, the kid had headphones on.
Right.
And so there's this, so you can take all the racial sensitivity courses, all of this, until, we learn to start dealing with each other as human beings as you understand that you're a servant, that you're under there, that you're not only to protect, but to serve, you will continue to have these issues, and you will continue to see defense counsel use these things. I found it repugnant. I found it repulsive that they engaged in this strategy, or at least one of them did. I don't know what his strategy was, but it was, I found it a complete turnoff. His mother had to leave the jury room, the trial room. So I don't know, but yeah, they will continue to do it. But no, in terms of strategy, attorneys are afforded wide strategy in terms of their litigation strategy and to do what they need to do to get their clients free. I just think in this case, they chose incorrectly.
Of course they did.
Clearly.
Now, let me make sure that you all join the conversation. The number is 708-223-8953. Once again, that is 708-223-8953. And you can always hit us up on Facebook Live. But let's touch real quick on, and as you named them, Rottenhouse. I really do like how you did that. That's applause, brother. Now, the way the judge acted, because see, I'm going to touch on him first.
Okay.
Number one, and I kind of understand a little bit now of not calling them victims, even though they were victims. All right. But you let this boy choose his jury, the little grab bag thing he was doing. Also, how is this boy sitting up here? I'm even gonna say boy, this vigilante sitting up here next to you watching the video.
Look,
that's another person. I don't care, this robe, this bar, I don't care what you call him, he needs to go.
Judges in this in Cook County and in most, I think, state houses are elected. When you are elected, you're going to get certain personalities, just as you have with politicians. I believe he was the longest serving judge. In that, did he have some quirks? I mean, I'm sure if we had attorneys calling right now, they was like, "Oh, that judge was nothing. Let me tell you about this judge I had."
I understand. There's a lot of them out there. It's just that this one was.
I've been in front of some of those other judges. Like this judge, I was like, he got some quirks, but I've been in front of far worse.
Yeah.
So, did he have his quirks? Yeah. Did I? But I thought he, and I may get taken to task to this. I thought he was pretty fair.
Why is that?
You may disagree with his rulings, but he, to me, did not show bias, to either the defense or the prosecutor. Now, the prosecutor,
but he showed bias during his actions.
Like what? So yeah, okay, so you have a problem with how? I mean, that's how this guy has been doing it. There's nothing to say that you can't pick a jury that way. I mean, nobody else has ever seen it or not done it or anything like that. But just because it's unique doesn't mean. I mean, if fundamentally, what was unfair about that process?
And then wait a minute. I'm sorry. I'm gonna get with you with that.
Okay.
Number one. All right. If you're a judge, you're supposed to be objective. All right.
Call balls and strikes. That's all.
There you go. Yeah. That's it.
Call balls. Yep.
My man sitting here pretty much being buddy with this boy.
Well, give me examples. Okay, let's work backwards.
Okay, come on.
So he picked the jury. So he let what's fundamentally unfair about that? Now, usually attorneys pick their juries.
Okay.
But picking numbers out
of a hat or
whatever that spinner, what's fundamentally unfair about that? I mean,
because you can. I'm sorry, you can place certain names in there. You can say it's other names. You can say it's the whole.
They put numbers, so each juror was assigned a number. So they picked out 12 numbers.
They could pick the ones that's how can I say?
No, it was
favorite
random.
to their. They tell you it was random.
Well, no, I think it was. I mean, the lady's sitting there spinning it. She stops it. She opens it up. He picks out number 2. All right, number 2. Spin it again. Stop it. Pick it out. Pick a number. Number 48. Spin it. Stop it. Pick out. Number 3.
Right, but you gotta understand. If I can put 248 and 3 on every piece of paper that's in there. All I'm gonna get is 248 and 3.
But that was the state's attorney's job to make sure that all the numbers are in there. I mean, like I said, I know I'm gonna be taking the task for this, but there's nothing fundamentally unfair about that process. It's his quirk. It's his courtroom. You know.
Yeah, but does he not have a certain set of rules?
That was his rule
standards that he has to abide by. Not you and me. Not.
I agree. I don't think he violated his judicial rules of ethics while letting Kyle pick out numbers that way. I, you know, like I said, I'm not versed in Wisconsin law.
Okay.
So, but is that a grounds for appeal? I don't think so. I don't think so. So, like,
I understand.
You know, you can't say that there's anything fundamentally unfair about that process. So, yeah, it doesn't seem right, but you know, it's this particular judge's quirk that he had. So, I don't have a problem with that one.
Okay.
What else? What else? Yeah.
Well, right now we're gonna dip into a quick musical break, and we will come back talking about Kyle Rittenhouse and the Unite the Right and all them.
Charlottesville?
Yeah.
All right.
You are listening to Elevated Vibes on IntellectualRadio.com, our iHeart radio station.
Expressed on this program are not those of IntellectualRadio.com, its subsidiaries, or sponsors. IntellectualRadio.com. Feed your brain. Feed me now. Feed your brain. I'm starving.
We are back. This is Elevated Vibes Radio on IntellectualRadio.com. We are talking about Ahmaud Arbery, Kyle Rittenhouse. Yeah. Thank you, Rittenhouse. And the Unite the Right. All right. Now, also, once again, the number is to call, jump in the conversation, 708-223-8953, or always hit us up on Facebook Live. Now, jumping back to Kyle. The gun charge.
Yes, sir.
So how did it get dropped? On the fact that, number one, you're 17 crossing state lines.
All right, so procedurally, let's talk about what happens. The judge has to make so the state brings charges, you know, after the close of evidence and everything like that. The judge can make a determination whether or not, as a matter of law, the state has put forth sufficient evidence to maintain a charge. In this case, the judge and on this one I disagree. I mean, but he interprets the law. Said that there was not sufficient evidence to support that charge. Now, mind you, did it make or break the case? Possibly, because the jury could have picked up an inference from that if they were aware. I don't know. I didn't follow the Rittenhouse trial day by day as closely as I did the Ahmaud Arbery case. So that can signal to the jury, the way that the judge feels about this case. So when they retire and he gives them the jury instruction, he says, as a matter of law, I've dropped this charge against them. That may have had some influence on the jury. The way he spoke to the prosecutors, which was unusual.
I was about to touch on that. Go ahead.
Usually prosecutors don't get in trouble with judges like they did here. So that was very unusual. The way he came down on them, especially when he threatened contempt charges against them, and when he suggested that he might be amendable to drop, a motion for jury. Excuse me, I'm having a brain fart right now. But when he talked about that may have improperly influenced the jury as well. So those are all those issues, those little nuances that I thought this judge brought to the trial, and I don't think he necessarily hindered the prosecution. I think the prosecution was facing an uphill battle from the get-go in terms of the self-defense. I think it was more of a public safety issue.
But I do believe in a way that he did hinder the prosecution on the fact that what the prosecution was showing when the judge gave him that verbal tongue lashing.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
But they were trying to show intent. All right.
Well, there was some jury instructions or we never get the witness, and this is the problem when we start allowing cameras in without the context for understanding. Before you go to trial, there are things that take place outside the presence of the jury. So these are the things that we agree to. These are the rules that we will agree to abide by as both attorney and defense. And so what they got into trouble for was breaking one of those rules about, taking a stand and what that does or does not mean for you. In this country, as you know, we all are aware of, we are entitled to a presumption of innocence. And the prosecutor was getting into some question or language about that presumption and what that meant if he did or did not take the stand. And so that's what the judge was getting on the prosecutor about.
But you can see where the prosecutor was going. He was trying to show that intent that Rittenhouse. Okay. Number one, he says he's there as a medic and there to protect property.
And he's not trained as a medic or
was
not trained in protecting property.
The owner of that property did not call Rittenhouse or his little buddies. I don't even know what they call themselves, but he did not call them to protect his property. He boarded up his property and left.
They were there on their own volition, as I understand it. Like they had a conversation with this guy before and, agreed to help out. Let's just cut to the heart of the matter.
Come on with it.
Here's what bothers people, because it's not a racial case. You got to remember at the end of the day, Kyle
it's not.
shot 3 white
men.
people.
Yeah.
3 white men.
Yes.
In Kenosha, Wisconsin. He shot 3 white men. So it wasn't per se a racial case.
Yeah, but that was from the protest of
the Black Lives Matter.
Case.
I got that. But at the end, this is what bothers people, is that it seems to suggest that you as a protester, when you have a problem with whatever is the current mood, in this case is Black Lives Matter, that if you don't like it, you can come get your guns and do it under the authority color of law of protecting property. That's what we really are bothered by. It ain't the fact. I mean, if I ask you right now, name the third victim that Kyle Rittenhouse shot that survived, could you do it?
Gage. I can't say the last name.
Okay,
I don't want to cut his name up.
Okay,
but he was a paramedic. He actually was a paramedic.
And what did he do that got him shot?
Well, he drew out on cap. But I'm sorry, but if you are,
but is that not textbook something? You pull your gun. I already got mine drawn.
Hold on now. If I come to you and I see that you shot 2 people, you killed 2 people.
Yep.
and you are in front of me, and we are imposing mental, whatever you want to call it.
Then it's gunfight at the OK Corral.
But see, the thing is, he pulled his gun. He did not fire his gun.
I gotta wait till you fire.
Cal was quick to say,
I don't have to wait till you fire.
I agree with you on that.
This is the problem. This is the problem we had. This is why I had a problem with this. When the third guy got up there and testified, I was like, this sounds like kind of clockbook, workbook to self-defense. Kyle had his gun drawn. You chose to go for your gun. Kyle beat you and shot you. I mean, yeah, you saw him shoot 2 other people, but we have to figure out this balance of self-defense. You know what I'm saying? If you saw me shoot 2 people and I see you pull your gun and I shoot you,
well, if I see you got one on you, I'm not going to sit there like
then we need to have that conversation. We need to have. So my whole thing is, yeah, Black Lives Matter. Am I showing up without my weapon no more? If I have one, hypothetically not saying I do or I don't, but I'm not showing up. You pretty much said that's what this verdict says. If I'm going to go protest, I got a right to protect myself. If you want to come and protect property, you got a right to protect yourself.
Kyle went there to pick a fight. It was even shown.
He went there to protect property.
It was even shown.
Well, I'm saying
that the protest was down there. He walked that way. You look for a fight.
Dude, I'm not disagreeing. What I'm saying is, if you want to come and protest, bring your boxing gloves because they show bringing theirs. Now, that's what this verdict is saying. I don't have.
Well, I agree with you on that.
What we have a problem with is people showing up with weapons to peaceful protest. What I'm telling y'all is the days of peaceful protests are over. Forget about it. It's a thing of the past. It's like a brontosaurus. It belongs in the history books. That's what this verdict has said. Y'all can get ticked and all of that stuff and all of that. What this jury has said is, look, if y'all gonna show up to protest, come on. That's all I'm saying. Now, y'all can disagree with me. You can have a problem with that. Don't believe in peaceful protest anymore. I do believe in the right to self-defense.
Right, but now you have to understand now that you're saying that, when it comes to that, because it can come to that. We all know it. I mean, come on, this is America.
We there.
Right, but when it does come to that, now what you gonna do? Because
I got mine, you got yours.
I get that. But see, okay, you can get me. But what about the next guy that may be a little more firepower than you? And then
that is the natural
complaints.
There's the natural consequence of this verdict. That is the natural. One of the things you take in law school is like, look, even if it reaches an absurd conclusion, if that's the natural conclusion it comes to, then that's the conclusion it comes to. What I'm telling you is, yes, the days of natural, peaceful protest are over. Don't expect people to just show up and protest and be like kumbaya and turn the other cheek when I got protesters, some of which your former president called very fine people, showing up and protesting with shields and sticks and helmets. What I'm telling you is we do have a right to protest. We do have a right to go out and challenge the status quo. Just don't expect me to do it in the ways that my grandfather and my parents did. I ain't about that no more. Your verdict has made it perfectly clear.
That's true.
If he got a right to self-defense, I got a right to self-defense.
That's very true.
And the only one who's going to determine who had the right to self-defense is either the 6 who carry me or the 12 who judge me. So that's what we're upset about. That's what we're upset about. We're not upset about the verdict and all of that stuff because we want to go out and protest in a certain way.
But then,
we want to do it peacefully. But that ain't the right no more.
It's still proven that the balance of justice is not there. Because if it was me walking out with the AR-15, killed 2 people, I claim self-defense, they're not going to care about that. Either I'm going to be dead in that street right there, or they're going to put me up under the jail.
Look,
I mean, if I plead the same case he did with the same weapons he did, I guarantee you I will not have the same result. And that's the problem.
Google this case, our listeners out there. There was a woman in Georgia who was a victim of domestic violence and abuse. She, was in a confrontation with her then ex-husband or ex-boyfriend, paramour, whatever you want to call it. And she got a gun and she fired it in the air.
Yes.
She didn't aim it at him. And she got 5 years.
I thought it was more than that.
Well, she got some time.
Uh-huh.
So I'm not disagreeing with you. What I'm saying is I'd rather for you to be judged by 12 than to be carried by 6. Because that's the interesting hypothesis that you have put forward.
But it's still a kick in the face.
What I look.
It's still that kick in the face. And I think people are tired of getting kicked.
What I'm telling you is you are right. But I'm telling you that if you want to protest, knowing what the other side knows now, all right, knowing that they have been emboldened by this, knowing that, he has taken photographs with Donald Trump and he's been interviewed by Tucker Carlson and all of that stuff, and he's the poster boy for the Second Amendment. Well, maybe we need to start coloring in that poster. Look, that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying y'all can. I get it. We are upset and all of that stuff because we want people to peacefully protest. We want people to gather and take on and address their grievances to the government in a peaceful manner. That's no longer the case, sir.
And let's touch on
no
something
longer the
else.
case.
Let's touch on something else, and you just brought it up. Tucker Carlson. All right. Now, all of a sudden, he was quick to get that interview.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you're telling me that, and this is what they'll say, that, oh, no, he just came to us and all that. How did he get that interview so quick? They've been in talks with it already.
I mean,
And if I'm correct, then you could tell me better, because
Okay.
I don't know. But you're not supposed to be in talks like that until completely after the case.
Look, this kid has been the poster child for the other side, despite his admonitions that he didn't want to be. He didn't want, he takes umbrage with the fact that the left and the right have politicized him and that this was a right about self-defense. What I'm saying is, let's stop that smoke and mirrors. We knew what this case was about.
Oh, he's been out of pocket. It's video of him being out of pocket since he was in, a younger teenager.
All I'm saying is,
already been out there.
Now, we as a people who are protesting these things, I'm saying that you have a right to arm yourself. You have a right to protect yourself. It's up to you individually to decide if you want to deal with those consequences. Now, the reason that we've liked the way protests have gone is because we've always been to say they were unarmed and all of this stuff and didn't do any harm. And I'm saying is that can no longer be the way. And I'm not advocating, militancy. I'm not advocating violence. While I'm as a much wiser brother said before me, what I'm advocating is self-defense. And so governors, mayors, and all of these things are going to have to take a serious look and say, okay, how do we balance this? You got your Supreme Court right now looking at a Second Amendment issue, talking about New York is too strict with the Second Amendment. So, these cities and states that are dealing with gun crime and all of this stuff and trying to limit and regulate gun control are looking at some serious consequences as a result of this judgment, of this verdict, and what's coming down at the Supreme Court. So what I'm saying is, Black Lives Matter may no longer be the quote unquote peaceful protest that we're used to it being. And by peaceful, I mean not the violence, but you're going to see a lot more armed citizens out there, and that has natural repercussions and consequences. If I know the other side has a right to send people across state lines to protect a gas station or to protect a car dealership, then clearly I have a right to protect myself.
That's true.
So,
absolutely.
So that's the natural consequence. But as you said, let's stop beating around the bush. We are not. Yeah, we're disappointed with the verdict that happened in Rittenhouse. We wanted a message to be said that, you can't be a vigilante and you can't do this. That's what we wanted the message to say. That's not what the message says. The message says, yeah, you have a right to protect yourself. You have a right to self-defense. Cool. That's all I'm saying. What's good for the goose, as my daddy used to say.
It's good for the gander.
It's good for, I don't know what a gander is, but I'm assuming in this comparison, I'm the gander. I'm the gander in this one. Okay. So If I'm going to a Black Lives Matter protest or some other type of protest, right? Then if you're going to make the protesters say that they have to be unarmed, then the people who are there protesting the protesters need to be unarmed as well. And I expect the police or law enforcement to enforce that on both sides.
That's true. And
that's all I'm gonna say.
They did not do that in that case. In that whole situation.
They waved to him as he rolled by.
I mean, didn't they give him some water or something? Or you at least offered it, and it's just like, what?
I mean, like my man who shot up in the church. They gave him Burger King. This kid gets some water. That's what we're really upset about. Is what we are continuing to see as people of color is the disparate treatment between those who are served by justice and those who are protected from justice. That's the fundamental problem that we all have. Like, I get it. People are ticked and like, well, if it was, if his name was Tyrone, all of that. Yeah, that might be true. But now we got a hypothesis we need to test.
We know that whole thing is pretty much true.
But we got to test it now. We gonna say it. You got to test it now.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we'll find out, and it's not too long coming. I hate to say that.
That's true. That is absolutely true. Real quick, let's touch on the organizers for the Unite the Right rally.
Could a better verdict not happen to a better set of people? $26 million.
$26 million. Yeah. I mean, still, that is not going to
never bring back what happened.
The young lady and
the trauma.
I was just about to say the mental trauma that had went on with her family and others, because there was a number of people injured. It's not
better verdict could not happen to a better set of people. I mean,
my whole thing is, though, here's my trip with it. Why are they not dissolved? The government can come in and do this. They've done it before.
Have they?
No. You don't want to get me started. Yeah. They've done it before.
Really? Yeah. So saying the government sends in some covert agents to undermine and bring down what they perceive as a threat to the government of the United States? Are you saying our government has done that before? Surely you jest.
They are professionals in it.
Okay.
Let's keep it real.
Okay.
So my whole thing is, why are they not dissolved? Yes, I want them to pay that money. Please, come up off the mens.
Well, for the 4 years prior to this current administration, as the song says, what's the song? You got a friend in me.
Oh yeah, they definitely had a friend.
You had a friend, and the FBI and law enforcement agencies have literally come out and said that these right-wing racial militia organizations represent a current and present danger to the United States, and so we need to work to undermine them. This verdict is one in a series of steps that can be taken to undermine these organizations, because I believe not only the organizations were found liable, but some of them also were found personally liable.
Yes.
So maybe that is the first step, is that, any monies that these organizations take in, that's, how you go about dismantling these racial groups, is to get these big verdicts. Because I believe this was even more than they asked for. I think they were looking for 14 to 15, and they got 26 million.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is the first step in dismantling these organizations. But you also have to have a government that is not friendly towards these organizations. You have to have a government that doesn't rely on these people for votes as part of their base. And we currently know what's going on with this current government, especially on the one side of the political aisle, that is dependent on these type of organizations to remain and stay in power. And so we will have to continue to fight these organizations like these people did, and continue to go after them. But yeah, I couldn't think of a better verdict to happen to a better set of people. That was a little joy this week to find that out. So,
but also too, I do believe those that sponsor these groups, those that lobby for those government officials that to be friendly to these groups, they should be here too. They need to be here too. And it's not like they cannot investigate. All you got to do is follow the money.
Well, you know what they say. You follow the drugs, you get one for the drug dealers. You follow the money, you get a congressman. So
Well, there you go.
there's no will to do that. We can't even protest, find out what happened on January 6th, where there was an attack on our people. So what do you think they want to do with? No, that's.
But see, on that, they can keep blocking it, but the people see and they know what clearly happened. And they can sit here and say, oh, what did I just mentioned the name, Tucker Carlson called it the Patriot Act or the Patriot. Yeah. You could sit here and say that all day. It was nothing at all patriotic about what was done on January 6th. Nothing.
Yeah, it was just people that coming out to address their grievances to the government. It was peaceful. But I know we're coming to the top of the.
They didn't get no tear gas, did they? Like other folks?
No, they didn't get cleared out of the market. No military, no rubber bullets, none of that. No, they were asked and escorted out of the congressional hall. So, I know we're coming to the bottom of the top of the show for the next hour. I do want to just take a few moments. Tomorrow is
Thanksgiving, Turkey Day.
Gobble. We know that for both of us, just through our life courses, that this is a hard time for a lot of people out there. As both of us who have dealing with the ongoing challenge of being without our primary caretakers. We have both spoken about the challenge. So first I wanted to say that to all these people. I know some friends who just recently lost their parents or have lost their parents. I would like to tell you it gets easier. It doesn't.
It just smooths it out.
It's rough.
Just smooths that out. I mean, there's nothing other way to put it.
It's a rough time. So I wanted to take a few moments to talk to those people and say, even though they are not physically present with us, that we give tomorrow reflection and truly give thanks for what they have done for us.
Right. And the time that we all have had with them. Because they are always with you within spirit. Within the memories and so forth. That is instilled within you as a lesson.
And that feeling that you're feeling is not unique to you. So feel what you feel. You have every right to feel it. Don't ever let someone tell you how you should grieve, how long you should grieve, or what grief should look like. Don't be afraid to reach out and just say, hey, I'm not feeling it. We are all, I don't care, God's, Yahweh's, Allah's creatures, the universe's creatures. And we are not meant to go through this life alone with pain and suffering. We all have the right, to reach out. And there's nothing wrong with reaching out. We understand that this is a hard time. You and I were just speaking about the challenges of this time of season, and so we're not immune. None of us are immune from that longing.
That's true.
To belong.
Absolutely.
And so, but I also want to take this time to say, tomorrow we call it Thanksgiving, but let's reflect on what that really means, and that means giving thanks. Some of us, feel like we aren't where we should be, that we're falling behind, as you and I have spoke about. But tomorrow, even if it's, for an hour or so, let's reflect on what we truly have. What we truly have. Some of us have the blessing of health. That's because true. Some people don't have that.
Right. You have the blessing of home and family, and some people don't have that as well.
Some don't have that. Some people are gonna not wake up tomorrow. And I'm reminded, tonight, if you remember, put your shoes way up under the bed. And so that when you have to get up tomorrow and get down on your knees, you give grace and mercy to yourself and thank God and find mercy when you reach under that bed to find your shoes on your knees, because some people don't even have shoes to put on. And I know I'm not trying to be like dismissive of all the troubles and problems and stuff that people are having. But let's put those to the side, because I guarantee you they'll be there back Friday.
Yes.
Yes. They'll be back Friday, right?
Yeah, exactly. And also to, when you are feeling, as the world is putting that weight and putting you down, and
Man, it's on my shoulders.
why can I get what that person got and whatever? Just look the other way. Look further down than you, and you can see there are so many that's having it worse off than you.
Well, and it's also about just being appreciative of your blessings, because that new car you got, someone is struggling to hold on to that car.
Yes.
So it's about perspective. So tomorrow, if you find yourself not feeling real positive or whatever, we want you to come back and listen to the last couple of minutes of this show of Elevated and just change your thinking. It takes as much energy to think negatively as it does positively.
Yes, it does.
It's just the negative is easier.
Right.
And
but the positive is a better outcome.
It's a better outcome. So, you may be struggling and all of that, and you may be feeling like you're floundering, that your life ain't making progress, and, not loving yourself as much as you should. Put that to the wayside. Lay your burdens down by the waterside. And just tomorrow, just be grateful that you have your struggles, because the struggles means that you're living.
Yes.
Only people who ain't struggling, they laying down 6 feet under.
Right.
So let's
their job is done, though.
Their job is done. Their troubles are over. Their worries are few.
Exactly.
So the fact that you have these struggles, these worries, these problems is just a reflection of the fact that you are living, that in itself is a blessing, and that, as long as you are living, there will always be struggles and always blessings. But as someone told me, robbers don't rob empty houses.
True.
And the universe don't challenge the weak.
Absolutely.
So if you are struggling and challenged, that's a reflection of your strength, not of your weakness.
Without a doubt. And real quick, understand something. We talk about a lot of times where, the wrongdoings, that those that have it have been putting thumbs on the necks of the have-nots. But the thing is, the people have the true power. We do. All we got to do is grab it. And that's one thing we always have to remember and always have to realize. All right. And you can make that change. All right. This is the end of the show. Elevated Vibes Radio on IntellectualRadio.com.
Happy Thanksgiving, y'all.
For sure. Gobble, gobble. Check y'all next week.